Hello everyone and welcome to The Game Code. I'm your host Stephanie Pelley. We're Atlantic Canada's best video game show because we are Atlantic Canada's only video game show. We are The Game Code and we're bringing you the latest and greatest on what's going on in the video game industry while talking to as many local folks in the Atlantic provinces as well. Are you still with us? Good. Here's what we have coming up for this episode. We've got the progress report on our 4 in February challenge. Myself and some of the Game Code staff took on the challenge of playing and completing 4 games in the month of February. Did we make it or was it an epic fail? Mike. You'll have to stick around to find out. We're checking out the latest place in Halifax to experience tabletop gaming at Games People Play. Co-owner Joseph Allen tells us about their unique business that's offering more than just games for sale. We're also talking to Sean Keogh, who led a Board Games 101 seminar and social event at their Barrington Street location. Adam Morehouse is back to give us his impression of Half Minute Hero, an indie game that will put your 16-bit memories on hyperdrive. But is it worth more than half a minute of your time? First, let's catch up to where we finished up with our 4 in February. Now, I know Ian is around here to chat about his games, but I think Mike might still be grinding through his.
So, Stephanie and her at LGS because, well, they get the time to hang out. I'm still here trying to finish my games. Didn't quite make it for the end of February, but you know what? I got through most of them. I'd say like 3.5 out of 4. That's not too bad. Not too bad. Let me first start off by saying, El Shaddai, if you listen to just one thing in this whole piece, listen to me tell you how friggin' awesome El Shaddai is. Game is incredible. It looks gorgeous. It was a blast to play. And I don't want to give away too much because I'm going to come back with a review, because one thing I learned from doing this is a lot of people don't really know about El Shaddai, and that's a damn shame. So we're going to come back and tell you a lot more about it, so stick around for that. Game is phenomenal. Go pick it up now and just wait for my review.
Torchlight 2 I'm now referring to as the poor man's Diablo 3. But if you like games like Diablo, you're gonna like Torchlight 2. The gameplay is pretty similar, as well as the talent system and the gear features, except there's much more loot, which is awesome. The game looks really good. It's really impressive for an indie game. One thing I didn't like about it was that the story didn't really hook you at all. After a while, I found myself just kind of burning through quest dialogue just to get the rewards or a new quest. But, you know, I guess it's just not that entertaining when Deckard Cain isn't reading it to you.
Now, for my first game, Dead Space 3, I love this series, and I love them for what they usually are, which is a survival horror game with a pretty interesting story where you check every vent and keep turning around to make sure there's nothing behind you. This time, the whole game could be played with in co-op, which I did with a friend of mine, and I'm going to say this was probably the best co-op experience I've ever had since Portal 2. And Dead Space 3 does many things right, and while the story in the third installment is probably the worst out of the 3, the overall atmosphere and experience is pretty damn amazing.
I'm still getting through this beast of a game here, Metal Gear Solid. That's a mountain of a game, and I bit off more than I can chew on this. This is what's been tying me up. The game is tough, it's long, drawn-out story. I still enjoy it. I'm glad I did it, and I will finish it. But man, mountain of a game.
The second pick for me was Devil May Cry, and as you know, I have a special place in my heart for the DMC series. It remains to be my favorite hack and slash game of all time. The latest in the series packs awesome gameplay with many interesting elements, gorgeous graphics, and atmosphere. And while the difficulty of the game may not be the hardest out of the series, it still poses a decent challenge. I will give this game a full review in the next episode or two, so if you're still on the fence about getting it, wait for the review.
To the Moon, I can't even talk about. This game will tear your heart from your chest, chew it up, spit it out, spit it in your face. It's about an old man who's dying and wants to go to the moon, but the storyline gets incredibly more complex than that, and it is somewhat of a love story. It really is emotional, but it was wonderfully nostalgic to play one of those old-timey SNES type games. I'm really glad I played, but I'm pretty sure that I reached my crying quota for the year. Pretty sure the last time I cried at a game was when I drove off Rainbow Road for the 70th time in Mario Kart. I feel like I need to play God of War just to toughen myself up a bit here.
Now, Steph thought she was going to throw me under the bus by giving me Super Meat Boy. Ain't no problem. I did finish it, but it was a problem. That game is so hard. Nintendo hard. And I know Steph hates me. Obviously, that's why she picked it. But I did have fun. A challenging kind of fun. I don't know if it was a very well built up game. People really love this game. And it's a great game, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I feel the same. I am looking forward to the sequel, though. It should be a lot of fun.
I've got to thank Ian for forcing me to play Portal. It's been on my list for a while. I really like puzzle games and room-solving quests, so this was right up my alley. I'm not gonna lie, there were a few rages, but it is a good short game if you're looking for something you don't have to make a big commitment to. Very unique physics, great concept, easy to see why this series had such a big fan base. Definitely gonna try Portal 2.
Now, Mike made me play Antichamber, and at first I could not play more than 15 minutes at a time because the game is so out there in terms of mechanics, as it uses non-Euclidean geometry in pretty much all of its puzzles, in addition to burning your eyes with bright and constantly changing colors. Elements of the levels, they change based on which direction you're facing. Matter in cubes destroyed if you place them accidentally on some kind of different surface. And after dedicating a couple of hours to the game, I actually got a decent grasp of it and kind of understood what the game expected out of me, and was able to make it to the ending of the game. And just as I expected, the ending was just as trippy as the whole game, with many possible explanations and hidden meanings behind it. So thank you, Mike, for putting me through the game. I was not prepared for it, but I definitely had fun.
And I'm sorry to say Mike has failed in his attempt to get me on the competitive esports bandwagon. While I did finish StarCraft 2 single-player campaign, I'm sorry, but at least I can now put it at the bottom of my Blizzard game rankings with confidence because I honestly just didn't care for it. While it looks great, most Blizzard games do, RTS games are just not for me. It's a personal preference, and that's all. I got nothing bad to say about StarCraft fans, you're all lovely, but if you're looking for me on Battle.net, I'll be on the WoW servers. Thank you very much.
Ian knows me very well and knows I do enjoy writing, so his recommendation of Alan Wake, very appropriate choice for me. I had a lot of fun, didn't quite finish it, I'd say probably about an hour or two out from it, but enough to say that, you know what, the game is a little flawed. It's not the perfect game, it's not the greatest game that's out there, but if you appreciate the horror genre, if you like a good story, you can't go wrong with this title at all. I would suggest playing it through if you're a fan of those. You might want to skip it if you're not.
Finally, I want to thank Stephanie for giving me Journey to play through. I heard a lot about the game and the amount of awards it got, but never got a chance to play through it. I pay huge attention to the in-game soundtracks, and Journey's soundtrack was simply incredible, going amazingly well with the whole feel of the game. I was blown away by the visuals and how far the game went away from the traditional kill, win, and beat mentality, and focused on creating an amazing atmosphere and evoking emotions. The only disappointing factor of Journey was the fact that the game was rather short. I'm definitely going to play through it again, and I recommend you all try it out for yourself.
Now we hope that you were also able to participate in the 4 in February challenge. Even if you were unsuccessful, we would love to hear what you played, what you completed, and what you might have fallen short on. Be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Twitter and share your 4 in February story. As promised, we take a trip to Games People Play, a new store in Halifax that specializes in tabletop games. We talked to Joseph Allen to get the scoop. We're here with Joseph Allen, who's one of the co-owners at Games People Play. Joseph, thanks for letting us come in and see your store.
Thank you for joining us today.
Tell us a little bit about Games People Play. What are you guys trying to do here?
So we're trying to bring a new culture to downtown Halifax. So what we're trying to do is introduce a new type of gaming environment to the downtown core. So right now we've opened up this wonderful, amazing space that allows us to have gamers in here with no charge whatsoever. They're allowed to come in and play board games for free, They're allowed to come in also and buy board games, comics, action figures, trading card games as well. But we want to kind of like develop that culture that people can come in with no hesitation whatsoever, play board games, have some fun, and just enjoy the atmosphere. So that's what we're trying to do down here.
So Halifax, why do you think Halifax is a great place? What's the gaming culture like in this city that would make something like this successful?
The gaming culture is huge. Right now we have probably about a half a dozen gaming stores in downtown, or even in Halifax and Nova Scotia. So we're a growing industry, especially in Nova Scotia, with having probably about 6 or 7 universities really close to us. Especially having Dalhousie, Mount St. Vincent, St. Mary's really close to us. We're the closest gaming store to them all. So it kind of gives us a really good leg up. And we also are able to provide that type of demographic, a resource that they really need.
So a pretty active gaming community. You have a lot of niche groups of people who are fans of gaming. Is it your goal to kind of bring a lot of these groups together?
Absolutely. So right now that we have tournament play. So for example, we have Magic the Gathering. So on certain days of the week, you can come down for like Friday Night Magic. You can play tournament play. We're in the process right now of doing board game tournaments. So you're going to see in the very near future that we're going to have weekly board game tournaments as well. We have about probably about a dozen to 2 dozen different types of board games, actual different lines, especially all the branch offs as well. And we also go into every single type of trading card game as well. So it's huge, and it kind of draws a lot of people down. And as you can tell today, it's a big outing. It's a big venture, and it's a lot of fun.
So your Risk and your Monopoly, are these considered like your dad's games or your grandfather's games? Are these still classics, and what are some of the new classics?
So they are some of the classics. So we have Risk and Monopoly, but there's new twists on them. So for example, Risk, there's Risk Legacy, which allows you to play the game and not just stop when you guys want to, but it has the ability to put stickers on the board and put it on hold, and then you can guys come back at a later date and play it. And with Monopoly, you have your Futurama, and you have your Family Guy, and you have your new twists on these games. But then you have your new ones like Settlers of Catan, which is a resource building game, and then you have Dominion, and then you have like other trading card games, which are fantasy flight games. Like if you ever heard of Game of Thrones, there's Game of Thrones board games, there's card games, there's Star Wars games. It's a different type of culture from our fathers and our grandfathers used to be able to board games. But absolutely, we kind of go after both. And people are kind of wanting both of them, and they kind of wanted to actually integrate both of them together. Right now, we have about 2 dozen in-house games that you can play, just no charge whatsoever. And a lot of them are old games. So we have, for example, a 1970s Risk that you can actually come in and grab off the shelf and play. And people are like, that's fantastic. But then we have Risk 2210, which is another new version of the game, which you will love as well. So we try to merge both together as well.
What are your favorite games, and what are you playing right now?
Settlers of Catan is my favorite board game. I'm quite the Magic the Gathering fan as well, so I probably sink a lot of my time into those two.
So, someone who might be a bit of a newbie, a little new to board games, is there any you would recommend to someone who isn't really familiar?
So if you are going to play new board games, we do offer a lot of in-house games. That's why we offer them. So you can come in, try them out, see if you like them. For example, if you want to play Settlers of Catan, we offer the base game and the expansion. So you can come in, see if you like to play it with your friends and family, and then take it home with you if you want, right? So Settlers of Catan is a really good game if you want to start out. So is Dominion, and so is Munchkin. They're really good games if you have a group of friends, if you want to get together on a Friday, Saturday night, and just hang out and just with no pressure or no stress, and they're really good games to start out as. And then we have fantasy flight games, which are a little more complex and they're a little more time consuming. We were here last night probably till about 2:30 playing a 4.5-hour game of fantasy flight games. So it takes a lot of time to play, but they're worth it.
So some games are really time consuming. What would you recommend to someone who's maybe got a little bit of a shorter attention span, is looking to maybe get something done in a shorter amount of time? What's a quick game?
So with Monopoly and Risk back in the day, it used to take hours to play, but now they've actually adapted new versions of Monopoly and Risk, and they have 30-minute versions. So there are new rules integrated into the games that allow you to play for hours on end, or you can play for 35 to 45 minutes. They're trying to go for a new culture of, we want to play a game, but we don't have a lot of time. So that's what we're going for right now.
What are some of the up-and-coming games that you see maybe making an impact in the next little while?
You're going to see a lot come out of living card games. So you're going to see, they're called fantasy flight. So for example, there's Star Wars, there's Game of Thrones. Settlers of Catan has been around forever, but they keep coming out with new and amazing product lines. Same with Dominion and same with Munchkin. So you're going to see a lot come out of the living card game brand. So.
You have kind of a comic corner over there.
We do.
Why do you think there's a connection between people who are fans of comics and people who are fans of games as well?
People who actually read comics love other types of games. So if somebody who likes Superman or somebody who likes Batman, of course that's going to branch off. People who like action figures, and then people who want different types of accessories to go with it. So board games like Arkham Asylum, that's a board game that people play. So it branches off from comics and the action figures. We are going into comics very shortly, so that's why we have the comic corner, so people can come in, relax, grab a comic, have a coffee, and just enjoy the atmosphere. So.
In our experience, people who like comics, people who like board games, they also like video games as well. Why do you think board games appeal to people who also like video games?
So you see a lot of video games that are out there, and a lot of them, for example, God, I don't even know how to put it. There are so many out there nowadays, and they're all branch offs, and you see a lot of the industry going towards the same demographic model. Is that people who come out and they do a lot of board games and they do a lot of video games, so they want to experience both models and they want to see what the difference is between the two. And the awesome part is, with video games, you can play cooperatively with other people or you can play independently, but it's the same thing if you play a board game. there are a lot of board games out there where you can play cooperatively, and then you can play one-on-one and go competitively against each other. So people want to see what the difference is. So.
What are some games that are based on video games, board games that are based on video games that have been really successful?
So there are Star Wars. So the Star Wars is a living card game off that now, so which is fantastic. We have Arkham Asylum, so Arkham's Batman, so that's fantastic as well. There's so many out there nowadays. Even the zombie culture right now is taking a huge increase. We have probably about 2 to 3 dozen zombie games here in the store, and we can't keep them on the shelves. So it's a growing culture, especially in the zombies world.
Do you play video games yourself?
I do. I play a lot of online games. So right now I'm probably an avid World of Warcraft player. I do play quite a bit. So between this and World of Warcraft probably takes up a lot of my time.
Let people know, where can they find out about games people play online? You guys are on Facebook?
We are on Facebook. So we do have a page, Facebook page. It's Games People Play. We also have a Facebook group as well. We have a upcoming website, which is gamespeopleplayhfx.ca. And they're more than welcome to drop by here. We're the latest, the shop that's open the latest in the city. We're open until 11 o'clock Thursday to Sunday, and on Fridays and Saturdays we're open until 1 a.m.
Great. Joseph, thanks so much.
Thank you.
There's a great amount of table space. I mean, it's a great place to have an event like this.